Hey, this is Gurds Hundal, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Inner Light Project. My name is Gurds Hundal, and today, I can't wait to share this topic with you actually, because I think it's so important within all of our lives, and I don't think we've actually been taught how to deal with it, and that is grief. I think, we're always taught, be happy, love life and be free, but we're never really taught how to heal from grief or how to deal with grief or how to feel grief. I think a lot of us just numb our emotions instead of actually expressing how we feel, or if we do express ourselves, somebody might shut us down for how we feel and therefore we kind of get afraid. However, I think it's so important to really grieve, not just who you are as a person or when you're healing and shifting, but also grieving when somebody has passed away, or like some people like to say, have transcended. I didn't know how to do that because growing up, it's like you just get on with it. You forget about it. You don't talk about it. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't have time for our feelings. Hello, we're living life. But, it was just so interesting thinking about grief recently, because it was actually 10 years ago that my grandma passed away at the end of August. And so I've really seen a shift of who I've become in the last 10 years and how I deal with grief now than how I dealt with grief back then. And so, I really wanted to talk about this today. The theme of this month is all about inner trust. And so grief kind of links in with inner trust in a way, because when we trust ourselves, when we then allow ourselves to grieve, then we allow ourselves to feel and heal and then deal with whatever emotion or feelings or trauma that's coming up about a situation or a person. And so, as I mentioned, 10 years ago, I lost my grandma. Back then, I had started my healing journey. I was all about transforming and shifting my energy and vibration, but I didn't know how to deal with grief. And so when my grandma passed away 10 years ago, it hit me so hard. But again, me being me, was like, it's fine, I can deal with it. And I pretended to just numb my emotions and everything was fine. But actually the reality is I couldn't deal with it. And actually when the day of her passing, I acted like everything was fine. I carried on working. I actually ended up having a meeting with somebody later in the evening and just was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then the moment I got back to my apartment, I was a wreck. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know how to think. I became so numb. And that's because my grandma was the first grandparent I truly knew, because both my granddads passed away when both my parents were young. And my dad's mum passed away when I was really young as well, and I'd only met her once. So this grandparent, she had been in my life since the moment I was born. She was there through some of my happy times, my sad times. She was there during one of my graduations, one of my brother's graduations. Like, she was part of my community. And so back then I didn't know how to deal with grief. My family, we don't talk about grief. We ignore it. Instead of celebrating the person on the day, which I prefer to do, we tend to ignore it in my family. So I just really wanted to share about this topic, because I feel like a lot of us don't know how to deal with grief. And I think that the key is to really feel it. There is no shame in how long it takes you to grieve a situation. It took me, from 2014 to 2018 to grieve my grandma. It took me 4 years to realise that I had numbed my emotions about her. And that only happened because my uncle passed away in 2018. And then suddenly I had nowhere to turn to, nowhere to run. And I had an operation back at the end of December, and I had to sit with it. And it was the most painful, heart-aching, life transformational moment actually, because it really taught me that I need to learn how to deal with grief, because if I don't learn how to deal with grief, grief is going to consume me and grief is going to take over my life. But actually, if I feel, deal and heal with it in the early stages, I'll start to be able to accept things. I'll start to be able to accept situations and see things in a beautiful light. And I remember the first time when I was ready to just heal this, and I had some old journals. And I had years of journals of my emotions, what I'd been through, my journey, and who did this to me, and this situation happened to me. And they were in my office. and I decided to burn them. And so I had an incinerator in the back garden. And as I was carrying these, journals, walking over to the garden, it felt so heavy, like I was holding onto a burden of emotions. And I remember I burnt them in the incinerator, and I just felt so free. I'd written 2 letters to my uncle and my aunt, my uncle and my grandma, and I finally just let go. And it was so powerful, and it taught me the power of healing grief and feeling it. And then, a few months later, completely shifted. And then when I had other family members pass away later down the years, I was able to deal with it in such an easier way. And I see it in such a beautiful way that they're always around us. They're always there to support us and guide us, that we're never really alone. I started to see my grandma as a beautiful robin in the garden. So every day I'd see this beautiful red robin, and I'd be like, "Grandma, is that you?" And one day the robin turned around and nodded. And I was like, "Okay, nice to meet you too." And I did the same with my uncle. And, and you start to see that in such a beautiful life. When you start to see that in such a beautiful way, everything shifts. The way we feel about them completely shifts. We know they're there. We might not see them in the physical aspect, but in the spiritual aspect, they're always there. You can always count on them. You can ask them for guidance. So if I'm ever stuck, I'll be like, "Grandma, can you help me on this?" Or, "What do you think? Can you give me a nudge?" And then she'll give me a nudge. It's so important to really just allow yourself to really feel what you need to feel. Because if we don't feel, then we are absorbing emotions, then that can lead to health conditions, that can make us not feel happy about life, but we feel stuck, we feel overwhelmed. But when we really feel it out, then we're absolutely fine. Like, the universe, God gave us emotions for a reason. Like, I don't understand why in this world that we live in, like, it's such a masculine energy world we've all grown up with, that, you need to numb your emotions, you need to toughen up. No, toughen up in situations, but don't toughen up when you need to grieve something. Like, God, the universe gave you those emotions to release, right? We wouldn't have been given those emotions if they didn't want us to have them. So just really honor that. Let it go, release it, feel it, and you'll feel 1,000 times better after. Think about every time you cried, you felt better, right? And that's the key, is to let it all out. Because if we don't let it out, as I was mentioning, it then manifests in other areas and in different ways of your life and situations. So yeah, I think that if you're struggling with grief right now, I would write down, why are you not allowing yourself to grieve? Who told you that you couldn't grieve? What are you afraid to grieve? And how can I take my power back? And then in your own time, when you're ready, I would write a letter to the person that you really loved and, who's passed away, and, you might have not got to say the things that you didn't say, and write that letter to them and, write all your emotions out. And then when you're ready, you burn that letter and you let it go. So that's what I did, because I had a sense about my grandma the week before that I should go see her, but I didn't. And I regretted it. And that's why it took me 4 years to actually heal from that grief and that regret. Because it's like, why didn't I go? I could have said one last goodbye to her, but I didn't in that moment. And then what I realized is I needed to let go of that guilt that I had. And when I let go of that guilt, my gosh, it changed everything. It helped me to just evolve and shift and really be in my power, but also made me realize that she wouldn't want me to be sad. She'd want me to be happy. She'd want me to be joyful. She want me to be living life. She doesn't want me to be grieving over, why didn't I not see you? Oh my God, like, come on. And so, yeah, just write that letter when you're ready and then burn it. And honestly, you'll feel 1,000 times better and you'll feel more in your power. And, even if it's not one person, it might be a few people over the years, write them out to them. And then when you're ready, you take a shower and you cleanse the energy, and you imagine a beautiful liquid light going from the top of your head down to your feet, and you're cleansing the energy and you're bringing back positive light and positive energy into your space. And just see how things start to shift for you. Start to see, you might hear a bird on your walk, or you might see some animal or something on a daily basis that reminds you of them. And just remember that they're always there for you, supporting and guiding you and nourishing you, and they will always have your back. And there's no shame in seeing it in such a different way, because I know, especially in my culture, people don't talk about it. People just cry like, some people cry ridiculously at funerals for no reason. Like, obviously, we need to feel our feelings and emotions, but some people do it dramatically, like to get attention, which it just doesn't sit right with me. But just see how you feel, like, see, where does this pattern come from? Is it from your culture? Is it your family? Is it the society you grew up in? And again, heal that. because there's no shame in asking for help or asking for support or feeling what you need to feel. Let it go. Let yourself feel. Let yourself really heal what you need to heal. And you'll see a shift in your life. Things will dramatically change. There'll be so much joy and abundance in your life. You'll start to see life in such a beautiful way. And you just wake up with so much gratitude that you got to be here, and the person that was in your life like made such a beautiful shift in your life, and just being really grateful for them and their existence, my gosh, shifts everything. And yeah, grief doesn't have to be hard. That's the thing. If we were taught how to deal with grief at school, I think a lot of us wouldn't feel the way we feel right now. And so, yeah, again, I wasn't taught how to deal with grief. I was taught to numb it and suppress it. And now, if I'm upset about something, I cry it out and I feel fine about it, because I grew up in a culture where women don't cry. You don't show your emotions in public. If you do show your emotions, you definitely do it behind closed doors, but not in front of everybody. And when I did show my emotions in front of everybody, people just stared at me. So there was always a weird uncomfortableness about it. But actually what I realised is, if we cry in front of somebody that can't give us that empathy, it's because they don't even know how to heal what they're feeling. They've got their own traumas and their own emotions, and it has nothing to do with us. And actually, they have their own work to do, but it's not about us. It doesn't make them bad or wrong. It just shows that they don't have that awareness that we have, or they see the power in feeling your emotions in front of people. Because we are part of a community. We're meant to be vulnerable. We're meant to share emotions. We're meant to share stories. We're meant to support and help one another. But some people don't have that capacity, and that's okay. But you find people that can support you during that time, that can give you that nurturing and that understanding and that compassion. That is what's key. When we're trying to get it from people that we want it from and they can't give it to us, then we then hurt ourselves. But if we know there's people out there that can support us, that is more powerful than anything else. But yeah, I really just wanted to share this just short moment today that grief is okay. Grief is important, and grief leads to such a beautiful shift in your life when you really feel, deal, and heal with it. So my 5 top tips are: number 1, just honor where you are right now. It's okay if you're struggling to grieve this person right now, but really just honor where you're at and really feel what you're feeling. Let the emotions out. Allow yourself to just really feel what you need to feel. Number 2, when you're ready, I want you to write a letter to this person and say anything that you didn't get to say, or anything that you wish you had said, or just how they made you feel. What are some of the things that they brought into your life that made them so special to you? And just thank them for everything, for being here, for helping you, supporting you on your journey, and just being there to guide you. Number 3, receive help. So sometimes we like to just grieve alone and be by ourselves, but I think there's a certain amount of time where we should be grieving by ourselves. Whether you get therapy, speak to a friend or a loved one, make sure it's somebody that really is going to hold the space for you, and ask, can you help me right now, or be there for me right now? And if they can't, then find somebody that really can, because it's so important to find the right people to help you through this emotional time that you're going through, and you really want to be nourished and understood rather than somebody kind of making you feel not heard. Number 4 is go to a place or do something that reminds you of them, and just create a new memory of them with you, and just remember all the great things that happened, things that you're grateful about them, things that they did that made you feel happy and joyful, and honor them. And what you could do is you could take a flower with you or something precious with you. Say if it's near the sea, you could place some flowers as a memory. I did that for my grandma 9 years ago, and it was quite powerful. I actually went to the seaside and I placed some flowers into the water. I did a gratitude moment and I did a prayer. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. And then I walked across the beach and I just felt like she was there with me. And it was really supportive and it was really powerful. Number 5 is reminding you that it's okay to be where you're at right now. You don't have to have it figured all out. You just have to be in the moment. As I mentioned in step 1, just really feel, deal, and heal it. But by now, it's about just honoring if you have a moment where you get upset about it, let it out, And then think about all the things that you're grateful about them. And then just be in the moment, right? Because when we're in the moment, we're able to then really grieve who they are. If we numb the emotions, then we are holding ourselves back and not allowing ourselves to truly heal from within. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. What we have once enjoyed, we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes part of us. That's a quote by Helen Keller. And I really think that's so true, that when we have lost somebody, they're still part of us. They're still there. You can just be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Can you help me? Can you support me? I'm going through this right now. Can you guide me? And watch their energy just turn up into your life. Watch something just happen. Beautiful miracles happen every single day. But we forget to call upon our guides, like the people that we love, the people that have supported us that are no longer here. They're there to support you. They are your support mechanism. They might not be there physically, but they are there spiritually to help and guide and support you. Call upon them, because that's what they're there for. And I think just really allow yourself to really feel what you need to feel, and you'll start to see grief in such a beautiful, different way. Now, if you're struggling to let the past go and infinitely trust yourself, visit my website at www.gurdshandal.com, where you can find my program, The Infinite Trust Method, where I help you to transform trauma and learn to trust yourself so you can powerfully move forward in your life. I also have another program that's out, which is a group program, which is called Reclaim Your Power. It's all about healing trauma, coming back home to yourself, and entering your feminine frequency. I will see you in the next episode. Take care, sisters. Bye. For more information about the show, visit www.gurdshundal.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.